totally not at all started late and screwed up podcast. The Open Chest Anime Podcast with your host, the Anime Collector, and my co-host is always Dr. Bloggy. Unscreen shareable Bloggy.
Yeah.
All right, so let me go ahead and I did this. So this should be streaming to Facebook as well. I'm not sure if it is. I'm going to double check that because I figure might as well.
Where can they go to find the stream on Facebook?
It's on my Facebook profile because I can't do. I'm just testing it to see if this is a viable option. It is. It's working. All right, that's fantastic. Hopefully nobody watches it. And if you do start watching it on Facebook, go to the YouTube because I want that watch time. All right, so let me just go ahead. Everything is going so remarkably fast. Not at all on YouTube right now. So let me just pull up that link so you can have the chat because I don't think the comments are going through. So if you guys are chatting, I'm not seeing them. Hold on. To show viewer comments, connect with Breach.
You're watching? Hello. Konski, is we chatting? Let's see.
Well, that was an interesting button that didn't do what I wanted it to do. Okay, here I go. Oh, interesting. So it recognizes that I'm multi-streaming right now. What does it say the name of the episode is, guys? Does it say? Well, you can't see it. It
says multi-streaming with restream.ahoy.
IO. Okay, I'm gonna comment to you in the private chat here the link to the thing. All right. So now I just have to change the name of the damn podcast again. And let me pop out
your week? How was your week, Casey?
It's been fucking phenomenal so far. Shit, I forgot what I was doing. Where am I going? I hate the new YouTube thing. Well, I really just want to change the stupid name of this thing. Actually, I'll just copy it from the old stream real quick. That way the description and everything will get updated. Let me just pop out that chat real quick, except that I don't freaking see it. Let me go to the actual link.
Chat.
All right. 12 times the charm. You'd think by podcast 72 we'd be good at this.
If the median just stopped changing and just stayed with one particular.
All right, here's the chat. Okay, cool. I see you guys popping out the chat. Popping it to the other screen here so I can look at it since apparently I can't. So I've requested this feature, by the way, with StreamYard. People have requested it, and I've re-requested that we are given the opportunity to stream through multiple outlets just straight up through StreamYard. And they said it's a feature that they haven't implemented yet. So I recently, literally right before the podcast, told them hey, I'm seconding the request for this. So hopefully that comes soon, because then I could probably actually go straight to the page instead of just my profile and get actual people who want to see the stream. Anyway, let me pull up this one and I'll change the details real quick, and then we'll be back on task. This is definitely the sort of content you guys
so aside from what we watch for Watch Club, what other anime have you been watching lately, AC?
Hold on, I went to the last podcast. I hate you, YouTube. I have rewatched pretty much all of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and GT and Super in the last 2 weeks because I'm editing the Dragon Ball Super Broly video, and it is going well. It is
for me. I've been working on this for.
You've been watching Cyborg 009?
Got it. Yeah, I finally finished Cyborg 009, and I'd recommend that you watch it, AC. It has some intrigue on the human mind, what it sort of like a I would say like a middle school variant of Oshi's existentialism with Ghost in the Shell, kind of.
I mean, I
A
bought
bit.
it. I plan on watching it eventually.
All
All right, here we go. Here we go.
Here we go.
I've got everything updated. Perfect. Save changes right before your eyes. I hope the name of the podcast changed. All right, now we're back on to things.
Yes,
I got the chat where I want it.
but you can't vote at the corner.
Yeah, because that was on the last video.
Oh.
It's locked in. Whatever you guys voted for, we're doing. I can pull it up in a minute if you want, and we'll.
All right, Reese
I'll
finally finished Cinderella Boy.
I'll pull it up when you're doing pickups, so that I can find out. All right, here we go. Share screen.
Share screen. Oh yeah, did you get that link in the
I'm narrating what I'm doing.
chat?
No, I'll pull it up in a minute.
All right.
Damn it, Reese. I clicked on the new doc for next week's podcast. All right. Totally with zero problems, and definitely not an even worse way to start the real podcast than what we just left off. Here we go. Freaking A. It's once again, I'm still not in it. There we go. So just for laughs, the messed up stream is going to be in the playlist. If you guys want to go to OCApodcast.com and see the unlisted video that we just like the why
You pressed the directional arrow.
No, I didn't. I didn't touch the freaking keyboard at all. Hold on, I gotta go middle mouse click. This is the worst podcast we've done so far. All right, here we go. Pretending like nothing bad happened at all.
Wow,
Only up from here.
Bong.
Thank you for liking this video, because I know you definitely did that so far with how awful this has gone. All right,
Okay,
if you guys
fine.
want to support the podcast, you can do so through the OCA Podcast Patreon with this horrifying artwork that we desperately need our 150 a month to change. Oh, actually, no, hold on. It's the 300 a month to change by hiring Brady Hartel or maybe Yasuhiro Irie or somebody from the anime industry to design us a logo. All right, $12 a year is it's $1 a month. That would really help us out. Thank you guys for your time listening to my spiel twice. Also, the Anime Collector Patreon for actual videos that take time and all that energy editing and everything. I appreciate that as well. Also, Stealth Weeb. If you guys want to support the channel, you can do so by shopping on Stealth Weeb. By the way, I had a sale from somebody in Japan who bought this shirt. I don't know if it's probably just the studio, and they're going to send a cease and desist like they did for that guy for Mangamura. I'll be in the next podcast in the articles, not just I'll be like, you know, what do they call it when they like send you back to the country for getting arrested or whatever? You know what I'm talking about. All right. Anyway, so getting started here. So the Vic Mignogna court case. There's actually no news really in the Vic Mignogna court case, but there is relevant news that I'm going to actually, I'm going to skip Vic and I'm going to go to KyoAni real quick, and so that we can put these things together. So just an FYI,
instead of question that the word would be deported.
Deported, yes. Well, no, it's a specific word for countries that that are willing to extradite. Is that what it is?
Probably.
Extradite, yeah. Anyway, so instead of the KyoAni and Do Fan Days event on November 3rd and 4th, KyoAni will instead create a place inside the city of Kyoto during that weekend where fans can go to, quote, say their farewells to creators to whom they felt a strong connection through their works. That's the KyoAni news. Now we're going on to the Vic Mignogna stuff. And we'll get it's actually more Funimation and Rooster Teeth related, but we'll go through it. So Elizabeth Maxwell is a voice actor for RWBY, and also whatever that game is that there was all that controversy over the fact that he plays cops, and maybe also Zelda Breath of the Wild. Anyway, she made this tweet that said, "The only good crow is a stuffed crow." To which people had said, wow, getting the digs in at the new guy before the new season, nice. To which she replied, nah, the new guy is my in real life boyfriend, just having some fun with the Snowbird love / hate ship. She plays Winter in RWBY. I don't watch RWBY. I have no idea. I'm going secondhand on this. So that's why they call it Snowbird, because Crow and Winter or whatever. Anyway, so a little weird. I mean, I don't think there's anything here. I think that nepotism is kind of strong in all industries, but the main reason I'm sharing this is to point out that that they have replaced Crow. Vic has been replaced as Crow in RWBY. Moving on.
This guy's done previous vocal work, or at least sang in a church choir a time or two.
I mean, from what I've seen of RWBY, not good. So I don't know. So there was this post on our Funimation. Take it with a grain of salt. Somebody posted this thing, and it seems like it might be a LARP. I don't know. But I'll give you some information after I'm done reading it that'll sort of hint at some other things that might be going on. So they said, the thing you call Funimation doesn't exist. Now, by the way, I'm reading it here instead of on Reddit because they deleted their entire account. So it's all gone, but this was saved. So the thing you call Funimation doesn't exist. Funimation is not an anime company anymore. It looks nothing like it once did, nor how you imagine it might today. Last week, Funimation let go the last of the art and marketing staff. There were so many let go that they called it the snap, referring to Thanos, you know, in Avengers, whatever that was called.
Infinity War.
Infinity War, yeah, that
Part
crap.
one.
Most of them worked for the company for over a decade. These are the people that designed the packaging, edited the trailers, wrote the descriptions, made the music, cultivated relationships with Japanese studios, and actually cared about, listened to, and hooked up fans. Aside from actually doing the acting, which a few of them did, they made funny everything it was. But they did not fit into the new Sony reorganization, and the building in Flower Mound is now a ghost town. Funimation is a small cluster of revolving spreadsheet managers in California who deal in low-stakes licensing and distribution of the small-time anime widget within the greater portfolio of more important Sony Picture Television widgets. They are not listening because for them, there is nothing to listen to. That's how their job works. They grow subscription bases, not fandoms. Platform expansion is the purpose and profit is the passion. So this post, I think, was at least a month old. Just to answer your question there, Versus Seed. Low stakes. Again, just take into consideration that this is take it with a grain of salt as we're going to go in here. There's some stuff said at the moment that might
point something from Reddit. So
okay.
I agree with you. Take it with a grain of salt.
They had posted some quote-unquote proof, but by the time I was able to see it, they had deleted everything, so I couldn't see it. So anyway, the profit is so they grow subscription bases, not fandoms. Platform expansion is the purpose, and profit is the passion. You are nothing more than the current department they work in. You are a boring Tuesday in a generic office. You are dental benefits and 2 weeks of vacation. You are a minor bullet point on a resume and a free Sony coffee mug at Christmas time. So it gets all like poetic and bullshit right here. Your requests and needs are not denied. They are ignored. It's not because you're invisible. It's because you don't exist to multi-billion-dollar corporations. They don't need Crunchyroll. They don't need Vic, no matter which side you're on. They don't need good customer service. They don't even need the employees who build and maintain the company for 25 years because they already have all the money, and that's why they don't even need you. Okay, so like I said, it's take it with a grain of salt. This person might be everybody in the Reddit comments was complaining, like, why'd you even bring up Vic? Like, what was the point of that? But I mean, just like I said, take it with a grain of salt. Now, continuing here, we have more news here.
I do. Well, okay.
Sony Pictures TV, Aniplex consolidate Funimation, France's Wakanim, and Australia's Madman anime into a joint venture. So, I'm
not gonna lie, I like
hold
this.
on. Why did I lost my highlights. Okay, well, I'm going to do this one. Do I want to do this one first? No. This is a different article I'm getting confused with. Okay, so, I mean, it's good and bad. Sony Pictures Television announced on Tuesday that it and Aniplex is consolidating 3 Sony-owned anime acquisition and distribution companies. So basically, I think it's good to point out the fact that what that person said in that post, Funimation is gone, seems to be true based on this. Because as we stated from the beginning, when we first reported that Sony was acquiring the majority stock in Funimation, that they were going to either let it be what it was and just reap the benefits of the money that they made, or they were going to utilize it the way that we predicted and try to use it as a subscription for streaming to compete on the Netflix and Disney, whatever the Disney streaming thing is,
Disney
and all that. Whatever it's called.
You've focused more on that. What I'm scared for the home market, since the first sentence that you read from that is Sony and Aniplex, is that they'll gather up or round up all the major licensors in these continental distributions like Funimation, Madman, and I forgot how to pronounce the French one. I'm going to say
Wakanim.
Yeah. Gather them up, which is nice because you have more licenses, more business practices, try to better sell within those countries if they decide to pay attention to that, which what might be scary is that they don't, and try to swap it to what Aniplex has been wanting to sell for those prices for that time.
Reese got us a $3 super chat. He says, "Night lads, I got a bounce tired as F ball." Thank you for joining us for this wonderful disaster of a podcast.
Hey, it's only been 17 minutes and 20 seconds.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot longer than that. We're way behind schedule now. Anyway, so yeah, back to what you're saying. Thank you, Reese. Have a good night.
Thank you, Reese. So there's a scary speculation of them trying to just increase the prices for what they've been wanting to sell for a while instead of trying to adjust it to find out what the common sell is, then reevaluate what to do for special
I think that's a misunderstanding of like people are not actually reading the article who are saying that, because the article says that, hold on, I'm just trying to pull up the Facebook thing so I have that chat as well without actually.
The other thing I'm kind of scared about with Sony grabbing all these anime licensors is, once upon a time back in the early 2000s, Sony was a player at releasing anime licenses. You have the Satoshi Kon filmography, you have Astro Boy 2003, and an incomplete release of Cyborg 009, even though that they dubbed it. For some reason, they went into the venture, then stopped it, maybe because they didn't make their profit margin, or something in the works.
Okay, so now that I've got that up, let me just read the article, and you'll understand why I'm saying that it's actually might not be what you're thinking. So, Sony Pictures owns Funimation, and Sony Music owns Aniplex. So what they're doing, it's not a acquisition and merging with Funimation. What they're doing is they're consolidating them into a streaming thing. Yeah, they're not actually merging. Green line 743. They're not actually merging, from what I understand. They are just owned by the same, parent company of Sony, right? But a different branch. So Sony Pictures Television announced on Tuesday that it and Aniplex is consolidating 3 Sony-owned anime acquisition and distribution companies: Funimation, based in the United States; Wakanim, based in France; and Madman Anime Group, based in Australia, into one joint venture. Before the consolidation, Funimation was under Sony Pictures Television, while the other 2 companies were under Sony Music Entertainment Japan's Aniplex. So Aniplex previously owned Wakanim, and Madman. But it owned it under Sony Music Entertainment, and Funimation is part of Sony Pictures Television, which, let's be real, so much of this doesn't really actually matter. It's just like they got to transfer shit for taxes' sakes. But Colin Decker, who became Funimation's general manager in May, will lead the joint venture, which will acquire and distribute Japanese anime through the 3 component companies. The joint venture will operate under Funimation's name and will cover 10 languages in 49 countries with about 300 employees, which sounds ridiculously low if you consider the fact. So first of all, Funimation's hiring in New York and California right now. They're starting a new headquarters in those places. And it seems like 10 languages in 49 countries and only 300 employees. I mean, you need at least like two employees per language, right? So yeah, this doesn't seem like, I mean, and the reason why is because Funimation is going to be taken off the table regarding any of the creative stuff that they used to do. And once again, Funimation's dead. Okay, I think we've sort of established this for a long time. That post we just read seems to like really add fuel to that particular fire. But Funimation's just gone when it comes to what they were. I've always like secretly wanted, Podcast Magic, do your stuff, that Gen Fukunaga would get Funimation back, and he would, as he always does, turn it into something amazing after he gets it back, just whether that be through fraud or whatever he's doing in the past. But every time it goes to be publicly traded, it falters, and then he gets it back. So let's just see what happens. But
briefly, when I mentioned the 2000, when I'm reading this, like taking a property and putting it through 10 different language through all those different countries, 300 sounds like a very small amount for a huge workload.
Yes, because you're gonna have to be doing all sorts of market research on what to license for 49 different countries and what's popular there and all that stuff. So unless you are so this is what they're going to do. They're going to pick the lowest common denominator between English speaking, Spanish speaking, French speaking, German speaking. They're going to pick the lowest common denominator. So that means that Funimation from now on is not going to be any niche shows. It's going to be the Dragon Balls. It's going to be the Fairy Tales, as it already is, of course. It's going to be the One Pieces. They're only going to go after shows that are going to have a huge demographic reach, where it's going to be popular everywhere. They're not going to grab anything like Show Bitch or whatever. They're not going to do that anymore. Like they're going to be significantly less likely to do that.
Show Bitch was from today.
Whatever, you get my point.
I get what you're saying, but
now,
the only way they can see
Sony, I don't remember.
The only way they can see 200 to work is if they get the license and do a lot of subcontracting to process this through.
Which is just going to be a mess when it comes to quality control and everything, which they've
much.
already been absolutely terrible at. So let me just pull something up real quick. I'm looking for another DVD. I'll just use this one. It doesn't matter. So regarding Sony, I just remind you guys that not too long ago, Sony was releasing really shitty, crappy anime like Ultraviolet Code 044, and they were putting them out on. Actually, yeah, they're burned DVDs. I have a whole saga with these things, but they've been putting out crappy stuff. This is again Sony Pictures Home Entertainment. As you can see down there, that's a Sony logo. I don't know if there's another. Yeah, probably easier to see this one, right? So they don't care about this stuff. They're gonna put out the lowest quality stuff. They're not going to have any passion for it. All the people who like were good at this they're gone, right? Now, here's the thing, though.
On the flip of that, and I've brought this up before in previous podcasts, we talked about if Funimation was picked up and lost the previous, those who specialize within a certain trade that they picked up from working for Funimation, like disc quality or
Versus
editing.
Seed says, say goodbye to chipboards. I think you have nailed it right there. So here's the thing. Like, I'll just tack on to what you're saying. So this is what I was about to say before we were going into that. Funimation's in Texas. Everybody who just lost their job, right down the street, Sentai Filmworks, also in Texas, right? Now, when I was on the Anime Hour podcast with Dakota Broski and Lou Talks Anime, Dakota brought up that he was friends with, or Twitter follower, like mutual followers with, somebody at Funimation who did the box set designs. And I asked him before the podcast, because I wanted to see if I could get a comment, if it was true that the art department had been completely let go. Now, I'll just tell you right now, the guy in charge of the music for the trailers, he's been working at Funimation for freaking ever. And he is like wildly popular. Like, people are constantly commenting on Funimation trailer videos that are uploaded onto the YouTube channel. Like, where's the full track? What song is this? And it's literally a track that he made for the thing. And he talks about it in the behind the scenes all the friggin' time, right? If he's gone too, it's like, you're just shitting on the goodwill of the customer at that point. You know what I mean? Because this is like, there's an entire ecosystem surrounding brand loyalty, that whole like it's very similar, ironically, to what Rooster Teeth has, of where they were this real indie company that was started by a group of like 3 or 4 people, and it grew into this enormous multimedia thing that they've built it into, but it retains that core, like it's just a bunch of people that are humorous or whatever, right? Now, to that point, I asked Dakota, and he said that the person he knew no longer works at Funimation, and they now work at Rooster Teeth. Once again, Rooster Teeth is in Texas. However, I don't think Rooster Teeth is a good place for people to move, because Rooster Teeth is going through its own bullshit with Warner Media acquiring Crunchyroll and the Chernin Group, or whatever it was called. So anyway, back to this, unless you have something you want to put in here, Augie.
Oh, just to finish up, just like with the music artists that you pointed out, they have a specialized trade that they can offer, and just kind of go into their own contracting business to provide their services, just so that they can continue the work. If they have a passion for, or they see the market for the work, that they can continue produce what they like to produce and make a good bit of money while doing that.
I don't know. I mean,
everything's a risk.
Yeah. They had something good going on that they just lost, is the bottom line. Look, you might be able to get somewhere else, but there was a groove going. Funimation had a very dysfunctional work environment, according to what was that website we used? Not Glassdoor, but Glass.
You know
what I'm talking about. The one that's basically Yelp for the employees of a business who, so they had a very dysfunctional thing going on. If you've been with the podcast for long enough, we've been talking about this forever, but they got a very dysfunctional environment. Similar to Crunchyroll or was it Crunchyroll? I think it was Rooster Teeth, where they were talking about how you could literally hear the head of the animation department, like all the different groups, you could hear them in their office doing phone interviews to get other jobs while you're supposed to be doing your job, right? And then everybody gets let go. They got rid of Gray Haddock, the head of animation there recently. There's all sorts of bullshit at Rooster Teeth because of their just free labor that they're stealing from artists by promising them. Lishonsky says, "Is it an end of an era for anime physical media?"
No.
Not as catastrophically as that sounds, because we still have plenty of other companies that are not full of shit. Specifically, Discotech.
For us to actually, for them to go through these huge amounts of change, we're going to have to go through a little bit of time before we actually see it hit.
Yeah, this is part for the course.
Either around December or spring, maybe.
I mean, I'd like to see what happens by next podcast, when the mediation for Vic's case is supposed to go through, and see how Judge Chupp rules on things. But yeah, I think that when you have a company like Discotech that is putting things out that aren't even necessarily selling 1,000 copies, that's a company that's not going to turn into what Funimation turned into. That's a throwback, or a re-embracing of that indie scene, which is what anime was when it was good. When everybody who was into anime was into it because it was niche, or not necessarily because it was niche, but it was special because it was niche. You know,
You tell a different
and
quality of medium.
and the media that they're putting out of Discotheque is significantly better than what they're doing disc-wise and quality-wise and quality control, especially because there just isn't any at Funimation. But then there's also Sentai. I mean, I've got my qualms with Sentai's box sets being fucking enormous and whatever, but they're still doing a better job than where it looks like Funimation is going to be in the next couple of years. And it'll be interesting to see if Funimation just burns out like a dying star because Sony didn't know how to manage it properly. You know, I wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, and that's good, Lee Shansky. I'm glad to hear that you've been picking up more Discotheque, especially that 4K Space Adventure Cobra. So continuing here, according to Variety, the first project of the joint venture is Fate Grand Order Absolute Demonic Front Babylonia. In addition to Funimation streaming the anime as it airs in Japan, Wakanim and Madman Anime Group's Anime Lab will have a 30-day window of stream exclusivity in their territories. Variety added that Funimation will have a 1-year window of streaming exclusivity on a previously unannounced dubbed version. Sony Pictures Television Networks acquired a majority stake in North American distributor Funimation for $143 million in 2017, which seems low now. Funimation ended its content sharing partnership with Crunchyroll in November 2018 and signed a first-look streaming deal with Hulu. In March, Funimation and Chinese streaming platform Bilibili announced a new partnership to jointly acquire anime licenses, quote, over the next few years. Funimation bought Manga Entertainment, which primarily distributes anime in the United Kingdom and Ireland, in May. Madman Media Group sold the anime division of its business to Aniplex in a 35 million Australian dollar, or 25 US million deal earlier this year after Aniplex invested in Madman Entertainment in February 2018. I believe we talked about that when G was on, actually. Yeah. In addition to Funimation, Sony owns the subsidiary anime production companies A1 Pictures and Cloverworks through Aniplex. Aniplex established a Shanghai-based subsidiary in April with the intent of starting a full-scale Chinese animation production as well as sell merchandise. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's the one doing the Karl Marx anime, but I could be wrong.
So there's two partnerships that they didn't mention.
Okay, go ahead.
The two partnerships that they didn't mention was the partnership with Crunchyroll, which we talked about a few months ago.
They did mention that.
Oh, what about the partnership with Discotheque?
With Discotheque? Did they have a partnership with Discotheque?
I hope they did. Or was it Crunchyroll? So. I got that mixed up with Crunchyroll.
I think it's, yeah, anyway. So there's some extra stuff here on the Sankaku Complex article that wasn't in that one. And I'm sure, honestly, we should have just read the Variety one. But here's a statement from Sony Pictures Chairman Mike Hopkins. Anime is a growing area of importance for us at Sony Pictures Television. By combining these businesses, we immediately increase our global reach and expertise in subscriptions, video on demand, theatrical, home video, merchandising events, and more. Decker, who joined Funimation, this is the Clinton Decker, what was his name? Colin Decker, the new operating manager. He sang the praises of Aniplex, saying, "It just became clear when we looked at the global view of anime at Sony, these things should really be together. Aniplex is one of the most respected names in anime, and strategically, this positions us to deliver more value to fans and creators." It sounds like you just want to charge more for your products, but through Sony Group's integration of anime-related streaming services, we are thrilled that numerous Japanese anime titles will be distributed globally through its digital platforms. We hope our partnership will contribute to the further development and expansion of the Japanese anime industry. Well, given how things have gone at Funimation, you're right on track for underpaying your workers and everything, just like the Japanese anime industry. So good work there.
And some of that, what he said, kind of reiterates my speculation at the beginning of that article, or the beginning of the ANN article. So what's next on the docket?
All right. So up next, Visual Effects Studio Picture Element files for bankruptcy. Unfortunately, this is nothing new. So they worked on Stand By Me, Doraemon, Dragon Quest, Your Story, which, yes, is the amazing 3D one. Now, it doesn't look like they actually worked on Lupin, the new Lupin Zero or whatever it's called, or Lupin the third, or however it was called. So I'm not sure why that is. I don't even see them in the. Why do you have the super? Why is the supervisor written in katakana here? The Anime News Network, what's wrong with you? And why is it a link? Why can I click on that? I loop on the third, the first. Yeah, that sounds about right. And you just have like a translation of what are you doing, Anime News Network? Is this like a lookup table for them to swap it into something to display in English?
I guess so.
This is so weird. I don't know what I'm looking at here. Anyway, back to this. Visual effects company Picture Element formally began bankruptcy proceedings on September 18th through the Tokyo District Court. The company owes 194 million yen, or about US $1.8 million, to 64 creditors. So if you divide that, that's about $30,000, I think, per creditor. I mean, it's probably more or less depending on which one it is, but Picture Element was founded in September 2011, and the studio worked on the visual effects and CG for various film and television projects. The company has worked on such films as the live-action Library Wars, live-action 20th Century Boys, live-action Nodame Kanabile films, the live-action Space Brothers film, Helter Skelter, Evangelion 3.0 You Cannot Redo, the live-action Kiki's Delivery Service film, The Eternal Zero, Stand By Me Doraemon, the live-action Rurouni Kenshin films, the live-action Parasite films, the live-action Princess Jellyfish film, the live-action 3D Kanojo Real Girl, the live-action Attack on Titan films, Eiga Yokai Watch, Soratobu Kujiro to Double Sekai no Daiboken Danyan, the live-action Terraformers, and Shin Godzilla. More recently, it worked on such films as Dragon Quest Your Story and the live-action Kingdom and Archimedes no Tyson films. By the way, I learned that Taksakaguchi is in Kingdom. But more on that later. Or the live action Kingdom, not the manga I just clicked on. All right. Anyway, so do you have anything you want to say about that? I mean,
hate to hear a studio go away, but who knows? The staff's going to go somewhere else to work.
If anybody wonders why I'm so desperately trying to get out of this industry, that's why. Because as I've told you guys many times before, after when Rhythm and Hughes won the award for best VFX for Life of Pi, they go up to receive the award. They were already out of business because they went bankrupt and couldn't sustain. It's not a sustainable industry. Animation in general isn't. Now, when it comes to Kickstarter news, I don't know if anybody here is a fan, but I consider Cody Byer a friend. Cody from Anime Outsiders is got a Indiegogo going for his comic book that he has been working on for a very long time. It's called Impstory Book 1. There are two options, the digital copy and the physical copy. So I've backed the physical copy because, again, I think he's a good guy. And I'd like to see his work. He's been working on this for a very long time. He has a web comic that he's been doing. I think this one has some better art. And I imagine, I think Newman is the artist here. But you guys can look into this if you want. This is, again, an Indiegogo, not a Kickstarter, but I mean, it's functionally the same. It's just that you don't have the guarantee that you're actually going to get a product on Indiegogo. That's just how it works there. Anyway, so they got 60 days left. I'm going to encourage you guys to look into it and consider backing it because, again, I think he's a good guy, but that's just my opinion.
Pickups.
Yeah, let's do pickups. Good idea. So do you want to go first?
Sure. So up first is Knights and Magic, a story about someone who gets killed in their mid-30s, sent to a magical world, and they have the technology of robots. And unfortunately for him, he is a Gunpla fanatic, so he is in a blissful wonderland, on working on robots and improving them along the way and fighting wars.
Oh, I was supposed to look up which thing won the poll.
Next is
Hunter says Knights and Magic is pretty good.
Oh yeah. Up next is
Dude, your mic is like cutting in and out. Augie.
Up next is Mikagura School Suit. I've always seen the art for this. I haven't had a chance to watch it. Yes,
it says sweet.
Suit. Yep. I thought it was one of those words that has like a double pronunciation.
It might, but I'm pretty sure that in that case it's supposed to be suite.
Okay.
Because it could be suit like a lawsuit, but I don't think so.
So if you remember last week I showed something in a continued series of the other. Well, if you remember buying that in a double pack, I did the same for Kekko Common. So we have Kekko Common, and we have
Where is your
Common
microphone?
Returns. What?
Oh
What?
man, don't show these. First of all, you didn't get the art box.
I didn't get the art box.
For shame. Also, those, I'll just say this. I bought those because there's no way they're what they're pretending. It's a big joke. They're fucking awful, and they're exactly what they claim to be.
Well, here's as close as I can show it without someone being fussy.
Yeah.
Ish.
But they're so not worth watching.
I'm expecting a cheesy time.
Oh, it's awful. Oh, fucking hell. I didn't turn monetization on for the new stream.
Well, up next is some more live action, and I'll go quickly on this. Is Trainman Densha Otaku.
No,
A
Densha
love story.
Otoko.
Densho Otoko, a love story for the geek in all of us. It's spin around. Back to town. Up next, we're entering some Criterion stuff with House.
Dude, you're using the Yeti, correct?
Yes.
Every time you turn your head away, it sounds like you're on a cell phone. Yeah, it sounds like ridiculous. What setting do you have the Yeti set to?
Yeah. So I have it at this setting.
I mean, I can't even see mine right now because it's up against the back of this.
The one that looks like a heart.
Yeah, switch it to a different one. Switch it to the omnidirectional one.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds the same. It just like when you like turn your head slightly away, all of a sudden you sound like you're a million miles away.
Am I still a million miles away?
No, you sound fine. That's perfect.
Okay, so I needed to do that. So
Headhunter. So Hunter says it's not picking up the Yeti. Did you have your settings correctly set to the Yeti?
I plugged.
I mean, it sounds fine to me, but
yeah. I just changed it to, instead of it being pointing the blue facing. And that's
no, it's fucked. Yeah, he's right. It's not. Okay, so in StreamYard, at the bottom, hit the little gear for settings and make sure you're connected to the Yeti.
Wait.
Yeah, you're on like a laptop.
Oh, I'm on the camera.
Yeah, switch it to the Yeti. Yeah,
wait,
Hunter noticed when you talked really close to the mic, it didn't sound like you were getting closer. It wasn't
How
like
about
louder.
now?
Yeah.
Does this sound better?
Yeah,
okay,
you can switch it back to the heart if you want.
All right. Actually, it went to the laptop. I finally swapped laptops.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'm saying you can switch the setting on the Yeti back to the heart if you want, because that's what we used to have it on.
Okay. All right. So that was House. Up next for Criterion. Technically, this is not Japanese produced, but I finally got The Mikado, which was if you ever watched Fraser, this was the play that he was in and sang. Let's see. Three Little Maids from School, and he got tricked by Bulldog to sing that. That is one of the musicals that. It doesn't matter. I will get Gilbert and Sullivan Troop. And AC, you saw FD&M message that about the Condor Hero, right? Yeah,
you bought it. Did it come with
It came in. I got it, but it's not the version as we know it, sadly. There.
Yeah, the live action. Oh,
live action.
There you go, FD&M.
Yeah.
Oh, it is released from Taiseng though.
Yeah, it is from the same publisher.
So I have something special that I was going to show you regarding that you guys don't have, and it's seasons 2 and 3 that were released. Yeah, that's they're only in Chinese though.
Isn't the one season that was released over here like missing the last few episodes? Sadly,
it might be. It's got a dub of like epically bad proportions.
How was it compared?
I don't think I've ever heard a dub that bad in terms of the deliveries, in terms of the choice of the words to say, just so horrendously bad. I think one of the characters, he calls her auntie, and she's like practically his love interest. It's so bizarre.
Well, that's how China has their love relationship. We can judge them all day.
Right. Okay, so you guys ready to know the results of the Watch Club poll? Oh, fuck me. The options were Vampire Hunter D, Corpse Party, or both. We have 0 votes for both, but we have a tie with the other.
So flip a coin and don't do that whole catch thing, then flip it over your...
So did anybody who's watching the podcast now not get to vote on that poll? Because I will just link in the chat here. I'll link you the link to the stream where that was on there. Oh, that's too funny.
So Headhunter 0974 said me.
We talking ghost stories.
Gun said I did not.
So that's dub wise. It's a completely different level. Oops, wrong thing.
Oh,
it's a
no.
completely different level than that. And it's like it's one of those things where it's trying to be good. And the thing that's funny about that show, Legend of Condor Hero, is first of all that is called Legend of Condor Hero, not The Legend of the Condor Hero, right? But in addition to that, what's weird about it is that it prides itself. Let me see if I have it. Like I know I have it, but let me see if I have it on here. So just read it to you.
Oh yeah, what's that yellow thing leaning right next to your shoulder? Almost looks like zombie ass Toilet of the Dead. Below Witch Hunter Robin. Yeah.
This? Zoids?
Yeah. Okay. Zoids. Geog Century?
Probably.
Okay.
Let me just grab Condor here real quick. I can show you guys.
There's a box on your shelf.
No, that wasn't. Oh, here it is. It's over here.
Oh yeah. Have you seen any scorpions lately?
Not in here.
Okay. Seeing that fan remind me of that video where he shot one. So,
first of all, probably the absolute worst design for a spine. To just put his like cape on the spine. It says, finally, a kung fu anime series that is adapted from an actual kung fu literature classic. Too bad it's fucking terrible.
By any chance, can you show us the bottom of that box set? Okay, because at the top, if you see it, it's like this awkward.
Yeah.
And it's just text on the back.
And then there's the. Yeah, it's pretty much just text on the back.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, and then it's got a bunch of. This is the character named Auntie, whatever. Is so bizarre. Like when I was watching it, I was thinking that I have to do like an old nostalgia critic style review with actual clips in it. You know, like it's so bad. I'm dying to watch it again just so that I can like take notes and like do an actual review. I don't think we should do it for a Watch Club though, because then it wouldn't. What's the point of putting all the effort into an actual review? Anyway, so if you guys want to do the if you guys want to do the poll, I'm going to link it right now. This is the link to that video, which is currently unlisted. So you guys just go there and you can vote in the poll, and then we'll have more options. Anyway, so are you done with pickups?
Do you have pickups? I'm
I
doing a lot of
do.
pickups.
I have an amazing pickups. I've got one. I've got the Gunsmith Cats Blu-ray finally. So hell yeah. Now only the standard sets have gone out, and I always buy when it comes to Animego Kickstarters. I always buy both the standard and the premium. So I have one I can watch and one I can leave in the case. So anyway, that's my pickup. Let's go on to. I'm going to put this over here in this window so that I can check on that poll again in a minute. So let's go back to what we got here. All right, live action news.
You got a notification.
Yep. Probably somebody like asking me why I'm doing a podcast on my Facebook profile. Oh, Jimmy G joined. Jimmy, watch me on YouTube instead. So I get that watch time. All right. Anyway, so here we go. I don't even care about the title of it. I'm just letting you know there's a Promised Neverland live action film coming. I don't care about the other crap that they're writing about here.
Right.
Now, as far as streaming news, Funimation adds Gravitation, Sweet Blue Flowers, Ginger Romantica, and Yakitate Japan Anime 2 catalog, which is weird. They call it two, like they do a terrible job. Like you have to really read the article before you realize, yes, we are talking about streaming, you know. But yeah, it's for streaming. So that's all coming out here. And for Ginger Romantica, it's seasons 1 and 2, by the way.
Okay.
Because I think they already had the third one or whatever. And the Vinland Saga creator said episode 11's TV version is cut. The full version is on Amazon Prime. So the NHK version was, quote, smaller in scale, and due to, quote, various circumstances, the episode had numerous cuts, quote, everywhere. Yukimura, the creator here, apologized to viewers and stated that the full version of the episode is available on the Amazon Prime streaming service. He said, quote, regardless, it's unfortunate that the cut scenes won't be seen by everyone. It's a shame when even a bit of hard work put into an anime production is lost. In short, I'm advertising why you should buy the Blu-ray and watch on Amazon Prime. Shout out to buying the Blu-ray. Go ahead and do that. I know we will. And we've got here Gen Urobuchi, the Gen Urobuchi written original full CG anime Obsolete is going to be streamed on YouTube in December 2019. So Gen Urobuchi, I believe, he helped get the novelized version of Psycho-Pass adapted into an anime, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, if you guys want to check this out, there's links in the description and everything. So it's about mechs that, like, as you can see, the guy's kind of like sitting in it, right? So
were you able to get a chance to watch the teaser?
No, I didn't. I didn't have time.
Okay.
But I can watch it later. And then this, you guys gave me like so many links to this, but I'm gonna just go off this one because I can't imagine there's any more actual relevant information in the other articles. Basically, MyAnimeList and HiDive are combining in the same way that Crunchyroll did with Anime Planet. That's basically it. The other thing is that the initial publicly visible feature of this partnership includes integration of MyAnimeList content ratings into HiDive's user experience. Additionally, a MyAnimeList exclusive embedded HiDive video player will launch within Q4 of 2019 to showcase a curated selection of HiDive programming. So basically, like I said, it's what they're doing. By the way, JT Master, I noticed on Facebook you were talking about not recognizing the characters in season 3 of Psycho-Pass because you missed season 2. None of those characters are in season 2. When we get there, you'll understand why. When we talk about that.
Season 2 just forgot everything in season 1.
I don't think so at all because that one guy was like a. Well, it's been a long time since I've seen it too, but if I'm not mistaken, the one guy was sort of a fugitive. In the first one, the movie is kind of a standalone thing.
A fugitive, yeah.
So anyway, so the thing here is that they're talking about how they are liking the idea of an unbiased, community-driven rating system on the anime that they provide, so you can actually see what people thought of it or whatever, right? Continuing, Promare anime film ranked number 3 in the U.S. on Thursday, and Oh, good. I do have my highlights. The film earned 722,836 at the screenings on Tuesday and Thursday. But the thing is that these are the there's actually more in here for the screenings because there's actually a bunch of other things. So aside from Fathom event screenings on Tuesday and Thursday, G Kids also began screening the movie starting on Friday in select theaters. So there's actually more, right? Cineplex also did screenings, blah blah blah. Like, so there's more to it, earned more than that. But the thing is that I'm curious. I think this is actually more than is this more than My Hero Academia made? I think it is. I think My Hero Academia was like 600,000. I meant to grab that info, but I didn't. So sorry. We'll have to look into that another time. Also, go buy the iCop mug on Stealth Weeb to promote your love of Promare if you saw it. So Crunchyroll Fathom events are going to screen Konosuba God's Blessing on This Wonderful World on November 12th. It's going to be only at 7 p.m. and it's going to be sub. It's not going to be dubbed. Just FYI. Anime news. Oh, here we go. Psychopaths.
Anime news.
Oh, we're going to have some real fun freaking stuff to talk about in a minute. So Psychopaths here to answer what I was trying to say about the stuff we were talking about. Where's the information about? Here you go. It follows two new rookies trying to understand the Sybil system and seek the truth in the ever-changing world of Psychopaths. So that's why you don't recognize the characters, because it's following two new rookies. So it's probably going to be like a whole different sector or precinct or whatever. You know, like they might have. That's probably why you don't recognize any of the characters. You're probably going to see the other characters whose names I don't remember, but I just call that one guy Adult Bakugo. That you probably won't. You probably will see them for like offhandedly, but it's going to cover a whole different group. That's why you don't recognize any of them. Although I would say go ahead and watch season 2 in the movie. I think you would enjoy them. I did anyway. Also, Danmachi season 3 already announced, and I chose this one because the images are bigger. By the way, I think I figured out why.
Oh yeah, it's supposed to have an OVA as well.
Yes, I think I found out why they oftentimes have two of the same image on here. I think that Sankaku Complex uses a there's no excuse. There's no excuse, Sankaku Complex. I was going to say that, and I think this is in fact why it's happening, is because the image that shows up at the top is the one that shows up as the it's like the thumbnail, right? But the thing is that you should just not post it again down here if you're just going to use the top one, right? Anyway, Fate Grand Order Babylonia arc confirmed for a 2-core run. 21 episode adaptation will air from October to March.
I was going to ask if that was based off the mobile game, but of course it's off the mobile game. You have the Go on it.
Fairy Tail celebrates its final episode. Episode 328 is going to be this Sunday. This was September 27th. One day. Oh yeah, so tomorrow. It'll be tomorrow. Well, actually, probably today in Japan because I think they're ahead by a day. But anyway, yeah. So it's finally over. It can't hurt you anymore. So I could wait for a final box set of this now. Probably an Amazon exclusive one. Go stands for Grand Order. Dude, I said that. He just wasn't listening. All right. So Demon Slayer blazes onto the big screen in newly announced anime film. Anime studio Ufotable to helm the continuation of the adaptation Demon Slayer Infinite Train. So Ufotable, do they do the show too?
That sounds right. We would have to look up the
they do, but
encyclopedia entry.
Well, I don't care enough. Peter Grill in The Philosopher's Time nabs a TV anime adaptation. So this seems very funny. And also, as the creator of the manga says here, original manga author Daisuke Hiyama took to Twitter with a celebratory image and also wondered if it would be, quote, safe to broadcast the series on Japanese TV. Because basically, The story of Peter Grill in the Philosopher's Time follows a warrior named Peter Grill who establishes himself as the strongest fighter in the world by winning a prestigious martial arts tournament. Although happy with his newfound fame, Peter just wants to settle down and get to know his betrothed better. But his hopes for domestic bliss are dashed when he discovers that dozens of demi-humans, from elves to ogres, now desire to mate with him in order to produce powerful offspring. So I can't wait for the Twitter cancel culture to get on this show and ruin any chance of me enjoying it without drama.
Well, hold on. Last time they did that, that show got like 2 seasons this year.
Yeah, but I still had to put up with the annoying bullshit on Twitter all day.
Yeah.
Love Lab manga ending. I can pretty much just say everything before it even loads. So there you go. France orders Valve to let users resell Steam games. So, thoughts before I read the article?
What kind of train wreck happened?
Well, this is what happens when you have EU laws, right? So it says here, and this is actually fucking terrible for consumers in the long run, and I'll tell you why in a minute. JT Master says, I actually read this. The dude actually has a harem and gets laid multiple times, but the one girl that he wants to marry, she's clueless to anything sexual, and he hasn't even kissed her. Well, you know, it happens, right? So, in a case that could set precedents across Europe, the High Court of Paris has ordered Valve to allow users to resell digital games bought on Steam, citing an EU law. The Tribunal de Grande Instance de Paris has ruled that the inability of users to resell digital games contravenes European Union laws on the free movement of goods and has given Valve 3 months to comply, whereafter they will be fined the paltry sum of 3,000 euros for each day in which it is in violation of the ruling. However, it is likely that Valve will appeal against the court's decision, meaning it may take some time before a legitimate secondhand Steam market emerges. Valve was found to have violated Directive 2009-24 EC on the legal protection of computer programs and Directive 2001-29 EC on the harmonization of certain aspects of copyright and related rights in the information society. Much of the case appears to have revolved around the fact that games bought on Steam constitute a purchase rather than a subscription, meaning that users have the right to resell digital games in the same way they can resell physical ones. A total of 14 clauses in the contract that Valve imposes on its users were deemed to be illegal, including a clause that allows Valve to claim ownership of user-created content such as mods. Although the ruling only applies to France, the fact that EU laws were cited means that the 27 other countries currently in the EU could theoretically force Valve to allow reselling. Now, as I said, I think long-term this is actually not a good thing, because I think personally, I mean, great. From a free market perspective, yes, I think people should be able to resell the stuff. But here's the thing about reselling things. The price of Steam games are set where they are because you can't resell them. When you can resell them, the initial price of them is going to go up for everything. Just saying. Now, if you can rebuy that game for $5 from the guy down the street who sold it to you, then that's a whole different thing, and that's probably in the long run going to be better. But
what causes the value of a trade? Why it's not the fact
market
that you have but what makes the market? Not the fact that you have it and want to sell it. It's how much is available to
there's
try to
supply and demand.
Yes. If you do this, do the concept of trade in used digital content.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the major issue.
Going to happen. People are going to modify it to try to modify it to make it unsafe for those downloading it across.
I really don't think that's how it's going to be. I think that Valve is going to have to create a marketplace where interpersonal connections can be made with the users to sell the game. Literally, all they're doing is transferring the existence of the protocol that runs the game to a different user for a fee. But the thing is that I think the reason why this isn't quite like secondhand game markets is because the secondhand game market, if I buy a used anime DVD or a used game or whatever, I run the risk, first of all, it's already opened. I run the risk of it being damaged. I run the risk of the disc being scratched. But with a digital thing, it's perfectly exactly the same as buying it new. Exactly the same as buying it new.
No
You're
limit.
just paying somebody else.
They can procreate the same exact save file. That doesn't even cause.
I don't know that the game is going to work that way because the save files are stored locally, whereas
safe. Like you're safe, not out.
Okay. Still, I think it's going to propagate based on something that's Valve is going to have to set up according to this ruling.
And why in the world would you have a used and trade market for that if Valve sells a lot of their games at like 92% off? I mean,
well, not all games though.
Not all games, but most of them reach that point if they're curious.
Anyway, yeah, I just think that this is probably bottom line is short term. This is gonna up the cost of games on Steam because they're gonna need to guarantee a higher rate of return for the game publishers and everything.
I'm surprised that the court sided with this idea. Then again, it's European law, so.
Well, we'll see how it goes. So, Root Letter, that show, the game that's getting made into a live action movie in Hollywood, turns out that they've re-released the game with a live action mode. So instead of like talking to anime girls, there's pictures of Japanese girls. So that's a thing that exists, and you can do that now. So anyway. I don't know why. I don't know why this was a good idea, but you can do it. All right. Mario Kart Tour secures 20 million downloads in 24 hours. This is the fifth, I think, sixth. This is the sixth. Sixth mobile game from Nintendo. The very first day, 20 million versus 7 million for Super Mario Run. 1.8 million for Fire Emblem Heroes, 1.7 million for Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, and 650K for Dr. Mario World, and 150K for Dragalia Lost Squared, or whatever the fuck that's supposed to say. The sounding track.
Crossing, is it more?
Yeah. Well, I think that you could expect the games for the more you release them and the more, because these games probably have ads for this game before it comes out and everything.
Okay.
I imagine that the more user base you have, that this is going to keep getting higher. And Mario Kart just happens to be one of those games where, and the sound effect has emerged that despite the inability of players to log in due to the high demand, Mario Kart Tour is also currently the iPhone's most downloaded app in almost all regions where the game can be obtained. So like these 20 million players can't even play it because there's too much of a demand right now. It says Lost 2. It's got a little tiny video. Okay, so this is iOS only launch, available in 5 markets. Okay, thank you.
Use the magnifier.
No, it's a footnote is what it was. So they've got them down here, the footnote. Anyway, okay, so Otaku fucking shared this right before the podcast. Atelier Rise's Lila DeCyrus unsurprisingly hated over her proportions. I hate her. This is gross. I mean, I don't care if you guys want to like it. Like, it's not a thing. I'm just saying for my own personal aesthetics, barf. So the character is busty to a point that is that looks like they took the 3D model and just inflated it a little bit. I mean, come on. Somebody even went to the trouble of photoshopping it like normal. If the GIF loads.
Why do they do that?
I think it looks better personally. I mean, I'm not playing this game. I don't care. But this would be an eyesore if I was playing the game, having to look at this character. Anyway, yeah, and I'm not even going to bother reading all the comments about whammons and all that.
Whammons. What and messy? What?
AI, the Somnium Files, LGBT seen both praised and criticized. So I'm bringing this up because I remember when this dropped and everybody went absolutely apeshit on Twitter. And I just want to point out here. So the character here, which is actually the voice of the main character from Sound Euphonium, says the LGBT community is rich in sensibility, has excellent taste, and is full of talented, artistic people. So first of all, that's such a generic statement. You can say that about literally any group, right? They go on to say, and they share a common struggle. It makes them more sensitive and capable of sympathy. That's why so many of them are kind and caring. So all I want to say about this is, in case you're of the group that thought that this was some groundbreaking, wonderful representation or something, I'm just going to point out why the people who didn't like this by saying, imagine you're playing a game and you go to this gay bar and the character instead says, contrary to constantly being blamed for him, not a single mass shooter is actually a member of the NRA. Wouldn't that be irritating? Doesn't that sound like you're being preached to? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
This is like such an obvious like masturbation of the LGBT community, like jerking them off. So not to mention that the character over here, the main character you play as, goes on to talk to this other character here and acknowledges. Well, I can't play it on here.
This is kind of a rinse, lather, repeat for other articles that we've covered before. So.
But he goes on to talk to the other character and acknowledge who you calling lady when referring to the transvestite or whatever here. So anyway, but it's really obnoxious to see all these people talk about, like, I was on the fence about getting this, but because of the LGBT blah 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 blah, I'm so happy about it and everything. And it's like, the pontificating of all these people.
Once again, regarding this, I like.
Oh, and here's our old friend Jeff Thu. Oh God, this mother's basement. Anyway, you were saying,
like the media representations of some of these characters, like in Spin City. I kind of like how they depicted it, because they pointed out that this one character was gay, and believe it or not, he was just there. No exaggeration, no nothing. It was just a person.
Well, the thing is that people, if you're gay or LGBT or whatever that stuff, you're not special. I'm sorry, you're just a schmuck like everybody else. All right,
should not be an in-your-face type of deal to talk to people.
Sure. And the belief that you're fighting for some rights is like, no, you got the same rights as everybody else. And although you think that being mistreated because you're one thing or another, I'm sorry, but nobody has a right to avoid assholes. We all deal with them. Yeah. So, I mean, just understand how you come across to everybody else, because you're obnoxious with your queerness. Continuing here. So, the Final Fantasy VII Remake box art has been revealed. Do you notice anything a little bit lacking in this box art?
Color. Let's see.
I'll give you 5 attempts at figuring out what's missing in this cover art.
Green.
No, it's not a color. It's a detail.
Detail. Let's see. The kanji below Final Fantasy.
No, it doesn't say part 1 anywhere. So JT Master says, trans people got banned from the military, so no, their rights aren't all the same. Well, mental illness has long been a ban in the military, so I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, so continuing here, his
hand wasn't in the hold on. Yeah.
No, they didn't put part 1. They didn't put part 1, and everybody's up in arms over it because it's disingenuous that it just says Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, if you're going to tell me that this has an open disc well for like the future games, then sure, that's great, because then you could just pop them all into the same thing. But it's a little bit weird. And what are they going to put on the next one? Final Fantasy Remake Part 2. You know what I mean? So, and then there's images here of all the characters. Who's this guy? Just a villain, or
Ifrit? That's a summon.
Ifrit, yeah. So it's a summon. Okay, yeah. Anyway,
So the classic mode, according to a friend of mine, apparently it's like a auto mode for the new game setting.
We just covered that last podcast,
I know.
didn't we?
We mentioned it, then moved forward.
Yeah, so I'm going to just comment on, because we've kicked the beehive here. JGMS says there were thousands of them serving at the time, so regarding the military stuff. And Lishansi said because the government didn't want to pay for gender reassignment surgery for trans and deal with their shenanigans. And no, there were not thousands of truly trans people in the U.S. Here's the thing. I'll just say this. Despite what the media representation would have you believe on the amount of gay people in the world, it's only actually 13% of the population, and the trans is less than 1%. Less than 1%. So there may be thousands in like the United States. There might be like a couple thousand, but there weren't 1,000 in the military. I think that's you're overreaching there, JT Master. Anyway, so continuing here, we've got our release news. Sentai Filmworks licenses Ahiru no Sora basketball anime.
Is that the Shonen Jump one?
I don't know, but it has a very strikingly similar synopsis to Haikyuu at first. He may be shorter in stature, but Sora Kurumatani can soar and score on the basketball court.
Whoa.
So that's practically the same thing as Haikyuu. But then it goes on to say that the basketball club, his new school, is actually a hangout for delinquents. And will his sheer tenacity and amazing three-point shooting change their minds and get the club up and running again? So yeah, that's the thing. Sentai Filmworks got it. Yeah, so I'm going to say bullshit on the articles you're reading. First TV anime's character designer draws Dirty Pair complete Blu-ray box art. So this is for the Japanese Blu-ray, but this is the first press limited edition, and this is the standard edition. And I'm kind of happy that we don't have to do that kind of bullshit out here, because that's so fucking annoying to have to get the stupid first edition and everything.
I doubt this, but I kind of wonder if it's like a certain plastic slipcover sleeve that they put on it, like you see for the first one over the second one.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was until I read this right here.
Okay.
That it was the first press limited edition. That would make sense to put the sleeve over it because it's the same image and you just put the color on it.
Yeah. We can kind of give it a cool effect, but yeah.
But the point here is that it's a Blu-ray, and it would be nice to get those Blu-rays over here. Also, this is we're podcast magic out to getting this out here for Danny's sake. Vicky, the little Viking, has got a DVD, apparently the first time in Japan, which is bizarre because there are DVD releases in Europe for like ages now. Wow. But yeah, volume 1's got 52 episodes on it, and I think the second one is going to have another 52 episodes. So podcast magic, do your thing.
So this was Japanese produced?
Yes, it's based on the Swedish story of the same name, though.
Uh-oh. Almost got a Smurf situation. I can see the girls being animated from somewhere in Japan, but the others kind of look like they're Hanna-Barbera.
There's a live action movie of this from Germany, I think, maybe Sweden. You've probably seen the thing for it, but here we are on Idol Adult. Hold on one second.
Ooh. Hey.
All right, let me.
All
right, there we go. I'm gonna check the. Blah blah blah.
There's not much
card real quick and see if we've got any new.
And Ne Za is Chinese produced.
Oh, at least. So one of the things, by the way, guys, that I have to do, StreamYard tells me, I gave you the opportunity to vote and nobody voted. Total responses 4. Okay. So yeah, I guess we're doing both. It's 4 episodes and 2 movies. It's not that bad, but annoying.
Oh no.
Let me refresh it just in case. Yep. No, that's what we got. All right, cool. Anyway, so back to it here. So we got the Battle of Yangsari. Knights of Shadows between Yin and Yang. Bleach set 5. Yeah, so there's nothing new to talk about.
Yep.
All right. Continuing. I mean, nothing new of relevance to talk about, at least. Here we got our random merch, which I'm pretty sure you just read the articles instead of actually showing anything when we had that hiccup earlier.
I didn't know I didn't have permission.
Awesome Sega Mega Drive 6-button controller Taiyaki. So I am not even going to bother reading this and just show you the pictures because that was the entire point of this.
I like red bean paste, but for some reason that snack, I try it and it just doesn't taste right for some reason.
It's the ratio is a little bit too few red bean, I think. So chicken and tuna wage war and quirky food collaboration. I just thought it was funny. So they got the sea chicken versus the chicken, right? And basically it's because Japan will literally take any opportunity to make an anime about anything. So
the only thing I didn't do
collaboration between Hagoromo Food Corporation's line of sea chicken tuna products and Prima Meat Packers Ltd's line of salad chicken products.
Mm-hmm.
So yep, just two run-of-the-mill food places decided to make a like
they got some high-name voice actors.
Yeah, but I mean, who cares?
You don't care about Akira Kamiyana?
Nope, don't care.
Really? Voice of Ryu Saiba?
Nope.
Shiro,
Einzbern Castle, available for lodging and cosplay shoots. So the Einzbern, nope, the Einzbern Castle from Fate is based on a real castle here called Brisik, I think it was. The Kase Brisik family. The Duke of Brisik still lives there, so you can come and visit. This is the anime. This is the. I mean, it's a direct copy of it, right?
It's the country.
France? Hold on. Yeah, I think it's in France or Germany.
French Revolution.
Yeah. They avoided guillotining during the French Revolution. For Western France.
Western France. Lori Valley. Have you ever seen that documentary show? I think it's either PBS or A&E made this, where and even referenced in Card Captors, where they go through the different castles and tour them.
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
So JT Master shares an article here. Says, take it easy, Lishansky.
Good night, Lishansky.
An estimated 14,700 troops. See, okay, so I'll say this though. That's the issue, is because as I said, the percent is so ridiculously low in actuality that all of them are joining the military because they were paying for the reassignment surgery. It's just like when people join the military to get free college, to have their college education paid for. It's the exact same thing. So there might be a disproportionate number of people who were not fit for active duty joining the military as a means to get reassignment surgery. And of course, that's fraudulent and not. I mean, you should be turned away if you're not capable of performing in a situation where you are responsible for the lives of people. You know, so
when the reassignment,
you say that. I'm sure that they say that.
Surgery.
I'm sure that all 14,700 of them say that, but it is accurate to say that they're joining for the sole purpose of the reassignment surgery, and that a lot of them. I mean, I'm sure there were a couple that were decent soldiers, but I'm just saying that from what I understand, they had a major issue, and it's the same thing with with them taking women out of special forces or whatever, because they had to keep lowering the bar under Obama administration, because they couldn't make it. And it's like, oh, this is sexist. And it's like, oh, this is life and death. So, although I'm going to just say right now that I advocate us not having a standing army and going back to a militia where you can be as trans as fuck and do whatever you want.
No, God, no. Let's end this topic now. No.
So anyway, AKB48, Japan's biggest idol singer group, apologizes for selling date tickets. Tickets promise to let fans, quote, experience what it's like to be an AKB48 member's lover.
Wouldn't it be safer just to create a DVD special and sell it?
I don't know. JT Master, I'm hosting a podcast here. I can't read every comment here. You're like giving me a wall of text. So it's pretty common knowledge that Japanese idol singer talent agencies widely prohibits the onstage talent from having any sort of love life. The idol industry largely runs on the copious cash flows generated by singers' earnest girl next door auras, and the common logic is that it gets hard to convince guys to buy multiple copies of the same CD in the interest of contributing to their favorite idol's hopes and dreams if she might actually be getting more personal emotional support from some dude she's dating. So it raised plenty of eyebrows when AKB48, the most popular idol unit in Japan, said that it was about to start selling date tickets. The tickets were offered. So the problem here is that it's actually fraudulent or false advertising, what they're actually doing here. Because the tickets were offered as a package for AKB48's upcoming performance at the Hakataza Theater in Fukuoka City, which will take place on November 11th, 12th, 14th, and 22nd, according to the Japanese news organization JCast News. On September 24th, AKB48's official website began promoting a number of special ticket packages for the concerts, with one description saying, "Date ticket, experience what it's like to be an AKB48 member's lover." Here's a music video they have here. However, this should say specifics. The specifics of the service weren't quite as lascivious as the ticket name and the initial explanation sounded. The description went on to say, a special ticket that lets you meet up with a different member of AKB48 on each day of the concert series in the theater, then watch with her as the other members perform on stage, because there's so many of them, they don't put them all in the same songs. After the concert, you can go with her to visit the members who performed. So as a group with dozens of members, not every AKB48 idol performed in every single concert, and the date wasn't to be held in a romantic or secluded setting, but rather at the theater itself. The lover aspect of the service were limited to meeting up with the idol at the concert venue and watching the show in her company. And even then, it's not like the date ticket purchaser and the idol would be all alone. As for each day, there would be 100 available date tickets, but only 3 AKB48 members, plus ostensibly a contingent of security personnel. So you're like sharing your date with like 30 people.
Well, at that point, it's not. They shouldn't have called. I agree. They shouldn't have called it a date. They should just call it a meet and greet. If you sell meet and greet tickets, those would sell.
The entire controversy is over the fact that they're not that they're being, false advertising, right? So anyway, Nonetheless, the date ticket plan quickly drew an angry backlash from fans who took issue with suggestive name and marketing, prompting an apology that was posted to AKB48's website 2 days later. "We apologize for using language that caused a misunderstanding about the contents of the ticket plan," the statement says, and the package has since been renamed to the, quote, "Let's cheer on the performing members with the other members" package, and no longer makes any allusion to dating or lovers. All right, so let me address JT Master now that I'm done with the article. So I'll just wrap this up by saying that joining the military is not a right. It's as simple as that. There's a process to get in. You can be turned away at any time for not meeting the criteria. It's not a right. That's why I should start with. So you could argue that it's discriminatory. It's not a right. And it's one of the jobs I kind of want people to be a little bit discriminatory for because of what it's meant to do. But like I said, I'm not for a standing army. So, all right, this is supposed to be a dig at FDM, but he's not here. So the Rugby World Cup 2019, Team Canada jumps off a bus wearing the yukata kimono, but the specific one, they're dressed up like how in Japan they dress up the bodies when they're like buried and stuff, like dead bodies or whatever. So they just jumped off the bus all dressed up like a bunch of dead people. I'm not even going to bother to read it. And another 40-year-old schmuck pretending to be Lupin gets caught. Cringeworthy thief calling self Lupin arrested in the Flower of Oedo. Cringe. Self-proclaimed Lupin of Kansai claims to have committed 150 thefts before his capture. There's a story for any youngster out there. Here's a story for any youngster out there who might think a life of crime is groovy. Wow, man. Who might think a life of crime is groovy, as you kids put it. This is the tale of 46-year-old Hiromichi Komatsu, who, upon his arrest, introduced himself to police as, quote, the Lupin of Kansai. As we have seen before, the moniker of Lupin is occasionally used as a badge of honor in the criminal world, just linking to the other article we covered last podcast, referring to either the master thief Lupin III of manga anime fame or Arsène Lupin of French literature. However, it only really works when other people give you the name, otherwise you just sound like a dork. Although for some reason, not Saka Complex, Sora News 24 thought that he was owning his perp walk. So if you guys want to see it real quick. I mean, when you play it in slow motion. Anyway, so Lupin of Kansai seemed all too happy. Should be a TOO there. All too happy to brag his exploits upon his arrest, telling police, I committed about 100 thefts in the Kansai area. However, the police were getting too close, so I came out to the Flower of Oedo, where I committed another 50 or so thefts. A powerful wave of embarrassment must have washed over the interrogation room as the suspect used the nickname Flower of Oedo, referring to Tokyo in a very flattering and somewhat antiquated term. As if to drive home his claim of to being a truly sophisticated gentleman thief. This is the entire reason I'm reading this is for these netizen comments here. It was a sense of awkwardness that spread out far and wide over the internet along with news. With users saying things such as, what are you doing, old man? He called himself that? Maybe he wanted an interesting way of saying, hi, I'm an idiot. He sounds like the Goemon Ishikawa. He sounds more like Goemon Ishikawa than Lupin. It's because of the samurai way of talking, calling it the Flower of Oedo. But I just love this one coming up. He's a little too into thieving. He's a sad excuse for Lupin. And then this one, how dare thee utter the name Oedo, sir? So this was in the original Japanese that this was tweeted out. Again, he's using the old dialect. He talks like the guy, what was his name? From Prison School, we just watched.
I don't know. I never remembered their names.
Eric Vale's character.
Him, yeah.
The guy who shaved his head at that one episode. Anyway, and shit the bed or his pants. In
the computer lab.
Yes, the computer lab. I wonder how this guy sees the world. Someone should tell him Lupin isn't really that cool nowadays. Hey, fuck you, Japanese netizen. Lupin is always cool. That must really bother the Lupin of Kanto, which I think this is the next one is referencing the guy we talked about last podcast. Another guy in his 40s. Do you lose all sense of morality after you turn 40? So the last comment is referring to the recent incident in which a man robbed a convenience store with a Walther P38 like Lupin III used. Before returning to the scene of the crime, drunk out of his mind, the suspect was also in his 40s. However, rather than armed robbery, the Lupin of Kansai was truer to his namesake and engaged in burglary. In the event leading to his arrest, he broke into an office through the window and stole about 500,000 yen, or almost $5,000 of computers and equipment. Police were able to track him down through similar thefts and subsequent sales of stolen goods to secondhand shops. I don't recall the episode where Lupin III stole office supplies from a rubber gasket company, but I'm pretty sure he would have been smart enough to either sit on his ill-gotten goods for a while or sell them back to the black market channels rather than legitimate businesses that keep accurate records. A true pro also probably wouldn't make the decision to move to an area where security and law enforcement is at an all-time high in preparation for the 2020, quote, Flower of Oedo Olympics. Then again, I'm not the Lupin of Kansai, so what do I know? I'm more like the Oishinbo Kinki, which is linked to another article that wasn't even written by this guy. So I don't know about that. Master Blaster wrote this one. He did not leave a card. This is Funkgoon. I don't know how you pronounce your name. Funkgun. You can correct me there, dude. He did not leave a card of what he was going to steal first, so he ain't no Lupin. Good comment.
There you go.
All right, so continuing here. All right, now I got another fucking fantastic thing here. Naomi Osaka called too tanned in Japanese comedy routine. So, oh god.
So what does that mean in this culture?
Well, okay, so Naomi Osaka's she's the tennis star that beat Serena Williams, who's part Haitian, part Japanese, and they've already had all sorts of wonderful hiccups in Japan over the.
Are they calling her Ganguro?
Say what? No, they'd never called her Ganguro. She's not Ganguro. Ganguro requires you to have blonde hair. Basically, the bottom line here is that in the scale of oppression, black outbeats being Japanese to the point where Japan continually trips over this sensitivity bullshit. So now when you read it, it sounds really bad. And then you hear the actual joke and it sounds like it's obviously offensive on purpose. And it legitimately would be funny in the Japanese context, in the sense that, that it's something that the Japanese mindset of, the nail that sticks up gets hammered down, the homogeneity of the Japanese culture, that in that mindset, every single person in the audience is thinking this. And when you say it, then you have the ability to just go, gasp, that's too far. But legitimately, everybody in that audience is probably at least thinking this. But yeah, some of the articles made it sound really bad until you actually hear what they said. And then it's legitimately, it's still offensive. But I think that from a comedian standpoint, like I feel like it was an accurate joke. It just, the unfortunate nature of can't go there because black was a little bit too much for these comedians, although they are fashionably impaired and look like they'd be quite obnoxious to watch. So anyway, I'll just read it real quick. So comedians and management apologized for saying the tennis pro, quote, needs bleach. Ever since winning the Australian Open and the US Open against her idol, Serena Williams, Naomi Osaka has become a household name in Japan, and while people are in awe of her sensational tennis skills off the court, there's been a lot of chatter about the Japanese national's mixed heritage. Born in Japan to a Japanese mother and Haitian father, and brought up in the United States from the age of 3, Osaka doesn't fit the cookie-cutter mold of a typical Japanese national. And though her mixed background shouldn't really be an issue for anyone, it's led to some embarrassing missteps in Japan, where she's been continuously asked to speak in Japanese, and even whitewashed in a commercial for noodle brand Nissin. Now, I'll just say, I think it's total bullshit that this was a controversy when they asked her to speak in Japanese, because obviously the people reporting are reporting. This is exactly like when that guy at the NASA thing or whatever asked the International Space Station or whatever thing, asked about Japan's contribution, right? It's because the Japanese, once again, are an isolated island, and the people doing the reporting are doing it for people in Japan who speak Japanese. Now, I don't know if Naomi Osaka actually speaks Japanese. I'm not quite sure about that. But it is completely within reason for the reporters to ask her to speak Japanese. Now, she can say no, and I'm totally on her side in regards to, what she said when she's like, no, I won't, or whatever in that instance. But I'm just saying that acting like this is insensitive, I think is a stretch. Now, the other thing about the noodle brand Nissin is, like, we covered that when we went over it, about how they actually made her and the guy, who was about the same color as her, they made them darker than the other characters. You could get upset about anything. I don't know. So, do you remember we talked about that?
Yeah.
That they were legitimately, I mean, I'll pull it up right now just because it's here.
I mean, people do. I fall in this category.
I mean,
there are people who go out and tan really easily.
Well, here's the thing. The thing is that she's part Haitian. That's the entire reason why it's a problem, because she legitimately has melanin in her skin from being part black, right? Part Haitian. But the thing is that, because look, when you look at these, you're like, damn, they're straight up white, right? And then you see them next to the actual anime characters, and they're markedly darker. You know what I mean? And these characters are normal Japanese, right? Now, the only problem, though, is, of course, that you've got a full black guy or whatever. Or maybe he's I forget. Hold on, half black. half Japanese character who legitimately is. But we covered all this when we covered the article.
Yeah.
But he so they colored him significantly darker. So the thing is that it would have been so remarkably easy for them to have fixed this and just re-uploaded the video and be like, oh, it was the bad version. We didn't color grade it yet. It would have been so incredibly easy for them to fix. Anyway, back to this here. So this is what they said. Now Osaka's physical appearance has become the center of a news story yet again after a comedy act said she needed bleach for being too tan. The joke was performed live as part of a skit by Ai Murakami and Aiko Kano, who make up the comedy duo Amaso, at a free event at Futako Tamagawa in Tokyo's Setagawa Ward on the 22nd of September. The event, called Omoide Yaro A-Team Presents Yura Tora Soul Picnic, was held at Futako Tamagawa's Rise shopping complex. By the way, this reminds me of all these ridiculously long and difficult to pronounce Japanese names. Samurai Jeff is in Japan now. He moved. He lives
Hooray, finally.
Congratulations.
So that's what he meant by he's in his apartment now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he's living there officially now. So podcast magic help him get a job and have a nice thriving life there.
That's what I was going to ask.
I don't know. He might already have one lined up. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I haven't talked to him in depth about it. He's supposed to go to Anime Expo this year, but that didn't go through, which is probably good. He needed the money.
Yeah.
For it, but it would have been nice to have been there with him. During the comedy skit, Maso began discussing products that can be purchased at pharmacies when Murakami asked, "What does Naomi Osaka need?" To which Kano replied, "Bleach, because she's too tanned." So, this sounds to me like I'm so turned off by this giant purple shirt. And this looks like a high school or a little bit older wearing an egregiously oversized purple shirt. This looks like a little kid that's like scaled up in Photoshop.
I would say someone who shops at Hot Topic and then gets their jeans from Levi, but
the haircut is not helping you be taken serious. Neither of you guys have the worst hair. Fuck your hair. Anyway, so
one's a pixie, one's neck length.
Anyway, so like I said, if you consider this in the sense of what do you call it?
Bad for the guy right beside him. He's like in khaki overalls.
Okay, we're done talking about that. What's it called? Improv. From the sake of improv, this is exactly what you would say, knowing the sentiment of the Japanese and how everybody has this weird complex over half breeds in Japan, because again, it's such a homogeneous culture where everybody is exactly the same and everybody outwardly looks identical and everything. You know what I mean? That's just a big part of their culture. This legitimately, from a comedic standpoint, was probably hilarious and got people to laugh, at the event. And then there's a bunch of people who apparently were, quote, appalled by the joke, with many taking to social media. Again, I am not saying this isn't an offensive joke. It absolutely is horrendously offensive, but it is quite funny from the perspective of, if you get your mind into what the Japanese, how they think about Naomi Osaka in particular, and you can acknowledge that things can be hilarious while being grossly offensive, right?
Well, that's the same type of joke that we would say over here. I mean, at the same time, she doesn't look.
Name a comedian over here today who would say a joke like this in our class. Well, there you go. That comedy special was gold, by the way. People are tripping.
I haven't seen that. You're talking about the new Netflix one?
The one on Netflix, which he literally titled Sticks and Stones. It's like, you guys didn't get it. You didn't get it. Anyway, so
kind of felt like people just hopped on it because it trended.
No, outrage culture is why. Is because the power of forcing people to apologize. Now, again, I don't think they should have apologized, just simply because they're comedians and jokes are made to be offensive.
They're in Japan. Their greeting is an apology.
I know. All right, Japan's most wanted manga pirate forcibly repatriated, arrested as he enters Japanese airspace. So this is the article that was shared, but this other one has a much longer, better, drawn-out explanation of what happened. So I'm going to go with this one, and then we'll just go over the extra stuff that was in the other article. All right. That doesn't make sense. Bad reporting from Anime News Network, as per their norm. Japan's most wanted manga pirate forcibly repatriated, arrested as he enters Japanese airspace. So Mangamura administrator, alleged, was taken into custody in the Philippines 2 months ago. In early June, Romi Hoshino, also known as Zakai Romi, was arrested in the Philippines in connection with his role as administrator of Mangamura, the highest profile website for Japanese language and pirated manga. Though the site had been shut down in April of 2018 after being active since at least 2016, the Philippine Bureau of Immigration called the 27-year-old Hoshino, quote, a risk to public safety and security. As we've talked about in the past. He looks really different compared to the other article we talked about here. Like, this must be a really old photo of Hoshino Romi or whatever. Or maybe it wasn't this article because there's no photo here I'm talking about. You know the picture I'm talking about? Anyway, he looks like he's aged about 10 years since the photo was taken, and he's lost a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's a risk to public safety and security. As of September 24th, Hoshino is back in Japan, courtesy of forcible repatriation flight from Manila to Narita International Airport, east of Tokyo. Hoshino was seated in the center of the contingent of Japanese police officers who placed him under formal arrest the moment the plane crossed into Japanese airspace. So you can watch a video here. And you get to see the wonderful thing Japan does, because it's, they don't want to give you the idea that somebody's guilty to sway public opinion. So they blur the hands with the handcuffs to not bias the public as to whether or not somebody's guilty, which is about as effective as when like the Jerry Springer show would blur the middle finger. Anyway, so after landing at Narita, a second flight took Hoshino to Fukuoka, where he is currently being held at a prefectural police facility within Fukuoka City. He has yet to issue a plea in regards to the charges of copyright violations stemming from Mangamura's unauthorized collection of 50,000 manga and magazines, saying that he will be entering a formal plea after discussing the case with his legal counsel. Atsushi Ito, the chairman of the Anti-Piracy Division of Japan's Publishing and Advertising Center, an industry interest group founded by Japanese publishing companies, reacted to Hoshino's repatriation by saying, quote, Mangamura, the worst pirate site in history. You might be overstepping your bounds there. I'm sure that the Pirate Bay might take that cake there. So Mangamura, the worst pirate site in history, caused great damage to the culture of publishing and all authors. Though through Hoshino's arrest, I hope that the site's sources of income and methods of operation will be thoroughly exposed and that no other such site will ever arise. Considering the resilience of piracy as a whole, Ito's hopes might be too lofty to fully realize, but Hoshino's arrest is yet another example that Japanese publishers and law enforcement aren't going to start taking a lenient approach to piracy anytime soon. I think it's funny that he says this, considering we just covered that article about like the Mangamura successors that popped up. Like there's like a Hydra, you cut off Mangamura, and like 4 other sites popped up immediately afterward.
The cycle doesn't end.
I like this one over here. Do you enjoy pirated anime and manga? If so, this thank you is not for you. We talked about this, I think, with yeah. I love how they're using One Piece as an example for why piracy is bad. Anyway, so this is the extra bit here. The Philippine Bureau of Immigration took the 27-year-old Hoshino into custody on July 7th. Police also arrested another Mangamura-related individual named Wataru Adachi, who was 37 on August 10th, as well as 2 other individuals. Now, I'm going to just have to assume this is Anime News Network's terrible reporting here to write this in this way, but as well as 2 other individuals, a 26-year-old male named Kota Fujisaki and a 24-year-old female named Shiho Ito, who were both reportedly friends of Hoshino. Were you arrested on guilt by association? I mean, come on. Then it goes on to say Fujisaki recently pleaded guilty while Ito pleaded innocent in their arraignment earlier this month. So, can you please tell me what this girl's guilty of? Knowing a criminal, oh man, can't have you on the streets. So anyway, that's what we've got there. Now we've got a quick Japan just snap back in the UN here with some great response. It's actually quite short, so we'll get through it real quick. Japan responds to the UN guidelines concerning lolicon, and they dropped the mic on the way out. Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has released its response to the recently published UN guidelines labeling drawings of non-existent children as child pornography. The response, which can easily be read as, quote, "we won't do anything about it," also revealed that the new guidelines published by the United Nations did not involve Japan in the discussions or any other signing parties for that matter. What is even more significant is that Japan clearly labels the UN guidelines as not legally binding to any of the signing parties. The rough translation of Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs response. So here it is. The government's opinion on the publication of guidelines for the implementation of protocols on the sale of child pornography. On September 17th, the Committee on the Rights of the Child published a new guidelines on child trafficking, child prostitution, and child pornography. This government is aware that careful consideration must be taken when referring to matters covered by existing treaties. At the end of March of this year, opinions on these guidelines were submitted to the committee. However, it is regrettable that these guidelines were published without significant discussion with any signing parties, including Japan. This guideline was submitted by the committee as a guide for implementation of the Treaty of the Rights of the Child that Japan signed. These guidelines do not change the treaty itself. They're in no way legally binding. The government's position on these optional guidelines has been to send multiple applications to the committees, which has confirmed that these guidelines are not legally binding on any signing party. UN has no control over you. Don't ever do anything that they say. Ignore them completely. Japan will continue to pay close attention to these discussions. We will express our opinions as necessary. As things are, Japan will continue to fight the unreasonable demands that equate people's thoughts to crimes and will not crack down on creators simply expressing their freedoms via the art they produce. So,
way to go. Yeah.
That is the podcast practically done in record time. And there goes Augie.
Okay. So up next we have Transformers the movie. No, let me get rid of this chat. Oh no, you got the Rhino version. I've
had the Rhino version long before that other version came out.
Now this other version, what I like about it.
What specifically is wrong with this? Because I watched it and it looked fucking great.
Maybe I just have a bad copy. I saw static within the solid colors. But what I like about this one is if you open it to see the disc design.
That cover looks like shit compared to this one. You know it.
well, if you open it and compare it to the other, you see the copy of Adventure Kid right there.
Oh, fucking fantastic. So, regarding this movie, I'm just going to say that it's a fun watch if you want to turn off your brain for a couple hours.
Off your brain, it is a fun action movie.
I sat down to watch this twice, and I didn't follow anything that was going on because it didn't hold my attention. The soundtrack is fucking amazing. And the is that the alternate cover for the?
That's the alternate.
Why wouldn't you sell it with that one?
I don't know. I really don't know,
dude. I'm as a father, I'm constantly fighting my kids to do anything. I tried to get my son to watch this movie, and he's like, I don't want to watch it. He put up a huge fight, and the second I fucking put it on, he was glued to the TV and didn't turn away the entire time the movie was going on.
So this turns out to be Orson Welles' last role before he died.
Yes.
And they had to synthesize his voice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he was pretty much at his deathbed. He was delivering the lines, then had like a lot of gasping and wheezing as he was.
You're saying they just like cut them together and clean them up?
Cut them together, clean them up, and auto-tune, because Transformers is good about that.
Yeah, I mean
stuff.
that just seems like they got lucky there that they already auto-tuned
Pretty
everything.
much.
So yeah, it's a little bit weird because he voices Optimus, right?
Huh? No. He doesn't.
He voices Galvatron,
No, the big guy, Omnitron,
Omnitron. Okay.
and the narrator.
I don't know. I've never actually been a huge fan of Transformers, to be honest. I've got like all of the show, but I don't want to start it because season 2's Japanese only. So in order for me to enjoy it, I pretty much have to start the whole show in Japanese.
You don't have the gray thin pack?
That's exactly what I have, and it's Japanese.
That's exactly what you have. What the hell? But yeah, the real disc, when you open it up, it matches
Nope.
cover.
I have this. Which is the thin pack, and then I have the Japanese collection, which is
That
also
should be the
from Shout
conclusion.
Factory.
It looks like
so that's what I'm talking about. So
Allspark.
this is, sorry, I said season. I meant to say series. Series 1, English and Japanese. Series 2, Japanese only.
Yeah,
show,
but that's it.
Beyond a certain
finally
point,
shifted to be what the Japanese wanted to show, instead of obeying the U.S. to try to what do you call it? Not
so
commit.
is this the same thing as this other one? But with
It's a continuation.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it's a continuation and concludes the series.
It comes with the PSAs. That's funny. All right, so and then I got Beast Wars, but I didn't even like that when it was on TV.
I wish Transformers Armada had like a complete collection one and done version.
Yuck. Transformers is really not good. It's occasionally great, but most of the time it's just bad. Although my favorite part of Transformers is how often Starscream is trying to take over Megatron's role as leader of the Decepticons anytime Megatron gets a fucking paper cut. And he's like, Megatron is dead. I'm the leader now.
Well, keep in mind, they had two other big Decepticons that were fighting with each other. You have Devastator and Soundwave. And he was able to calm them down. I didn't have a chance
to read that thing you wanted me to read.
Oh, about Jetfire, which turns out to be earlier in the Transformers toy line, they were able to get the Macross license and got the Macross plane and resold it. Just kept the design, but sold it as Jetfire.
The explanation of Transformers production is so bizarre because it's jointly, it exists because of America, but is animated partially or fully in Japan, and it just goes back and forth on it's such a bizarre, weird thing. Because the entire production it entirely exists to sell toys.
Yeah, it's a very toy-tetic series. If anything from a business aspect, it's very interesting to follow. And the close relationship between Transformers and G.I. Joe, especially the movies, cause in this one, spoiler alert, they kill off Optimus Prime / Convoy, whichever you want to call it.
You notice the Matrix that comes out of Optimus looks exactly, or not exactly, but like a mini version of Unicron?
Yeah, pretty much.
And they also said the Constructicons were in this too.
Yeah. But not the Insecticons or the Pretenders, which Daniel Witwicky my problem with him in this one is he just shows up and doesn't do anything besides promote this one toy that leads to be a different line of toys for Transformers. Well, my other problem is sometimes there's a scene that will happen, then out of nowhere, wham, you're in another scene.
No, I told you, it's like a fever dream watching it. It just keeps moving. There's way too much action in the sense that it never takes a breath, and it just loses all meaning. as I will say repeatedly in every freaking first impressions I see for a shonen movie, that they just need to stop for a second and let you catch up.
At least in this action movie, it doesn't have the typical romance subplot.
I mean, they're robots.
Yeah, they're in disguise. Yeah, pretty much. If you watch this,
what was the Transformers that had the voice of Eddie from Ed, Edd n Eddy in it?
I don't know.
You don't remember that one? It was on
If
Cartoon
you gave
Network
me
a
his
lot.
name.
I don't remember.
I know the Ed, Edd n Eddy show. I'm still surprised how long it ran, but I am not sure. What's kind of funny is they got done with the movie and started making the episodes before they heard the complaints from the parents of killing Optimus Prime like a few episodes later, because this movie is supposed to be in between, I think, season 2 and 3 of Transformers. Like a few episodes later, Optimus comes back as a zombie and they have to kill him off. But he does come back fully later on due to demand, even though they're trying to push out newer toys for the series. I kind of felt a little ripped off that Ultra Magnus didn't do more in the movie than what he did, but that also comes from me knowing a bit more about G1 coming into the movie. You can watch this as standalone because I don't feel like you would miss any necessary detail to know.
It's like jumping into Dragon Ball Super and not having seen Dragon Ball Z. It permeates like the existence of the franchise and who Goku is. It permeates the consciousness so significantly that you don't need to know anything about Dragon Ball Z or like the systems of how the show is built around, with like powering up and everything. You can jump in anywhere. Same thing with the Pokemon movie. You could jump in at any Pokemon movie.
Yeah. It's supposed to be. Granted, Transformers isn't trying to do this, but the other movies that you explained, it's supposed to be something to introduce the series to a newer audience and not lose.
I'm saying that nobody doesn't know who Optimus Prime is.
Right.
You can jump into this, no big deal. You don't need to know anything. They literally just set up the dumb premise of the Decepticons getting back Cybertron and everything. They basically just explain fucking everything for you. So you just go ahead and go on to you just go on to what the story is, because they just set it up with the narration at the beginning. You don't need to know anything else. Green Line 743 says, "When I have your ears, what are your thoughts on buying bootlegs?" I mean, I would suggest avoiding it if there's a legit version out there. I've got the. I mean, I was hoping it was the legit one, but I was pretty sure it wasn't when I bought it.
As long as it's not, if I'm buying the legit one and I'm being duped into a bootleg, I will get angry.
If you know you're buying a bootleg versus being fooled into it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was the Korean Dragon Ball live action movie I was just holding up. It has only been released in France, and the artwork on it, this is actually the official artwork. I'll just point this out. The official artwork on this has artwork from Dragon Ball AF, which was an April Fool's joke or whatever.
No, it was Dojinshi.
No, one of the so there's like I think he's from Spain or whatever, this artist, maybe Portugal. He's just insanely talented and draw stuff, I would say, even better than how early Z looked. Maybe late Z when the characters get more solidified. Like if you watch Raditz Saga Goku and you put them up to like Super Goku, they look like a completely different person because Goku's face is way more rounded and stuff in the early stuff before they solidified what they're supposed to look like. But an artist created his own thing, so it's not technically a doujinshi, but he has his own like Instagram account where he's doing stuff. He actually got hired on to do artwork for Super. He's actually hired to do animations for Super because of that. So Greenlight says, because I was bad and bought a bootleg of Sailor Moon, the Deke dub. I mean, it's so hard to get the dub of Sailor Moon, the Deke dub. You can, it exists, but it's like the old individual ADV DVDs. I would recommend, making an effort to go after them, even if it takes you a while to get them. But you can still enjoy them. I mean, I don't have anything against you at least enjoying them for the time being with your bootleg. And maybe someday you'll get the full thing. I really doubt it. I don't think they're going to re-release that, but
you never know. You never know.
Here, let me put it this way. There isn't a company out there that's making money off of that dub. So if you buy the bootleg, you're not actually stealing from them, because the only way you'd be able to get that dub legitimately is to buy it used from somebody else. So in that regard, you say it. I mean, it's not technically a good thing, but it's sort of in a weird gray area where it's like, I'm not going to fault you for it, because there's no like, it's not like you're stealing directly from the company right now because they're not making any money off it because they're not still producing it. By the way, did you see Brady Hartel's post about those PlayStation 1 games that were made all the way up to 2015?
No, I did not.
Yeah, there were these. He's like, you can still, to this day, buy a brand new copy of Chrono Cross, and they're so new that they don't even have a black back anymore.
Oh, wow.
They don't even bother with that anymore.
Wow.
They're silver on the underside.
I wonder how that affects the durability, because for some reason you can like sand the black ones and put it in and it still works.
You can do that with any CD. I mean, I wouldn't recommend taking sandpaper to it, but there's a process of cleaning where you actually grind off a layer of the polycarbonate and then polish it in order to get rid of scratches. PlayStation 1 games are so fucking bad for scratches though, because sectors of the disc get corrupted where you can't load areas and you get stuck in a loading screen.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, my friend had Breath of Fire 3 and he had a scratch on the disc that meant you couldn't start a new game because you couldn't leave the opening area. But we were past that, so hey, it didn't matter. And then right before the fucking game ends, you have to go back to that area. We could never beat it because of that.
So back to Transformers, the animation.
I'll make the Twitter moment.
For the animation, there's like one or two scenes from each I got both releases that seemed a bit too blurred, like the scene where Rodimus is fishing with Sam Witwicky. The first scene that Daniel Witwicky. The first scene that you see them is kind of blurred up, then it clears up as it goes from there. And there's another scene where it just seems so blurry, but other than that, I have no complaints about the animation. The music's very well placed. The Dare to Be Stupid scene was, I thought,
Weird Al just comes out of nowhere in there.
Yeah, you got the touch, gets you amped up for the finale.
By the way, the title of this podcast is named after the Universal Greeting.
Oh, that was a good scene too. That's something I kind of liked as well. For each character of the Autobot side, since they're the good guys, they try to develop them a bit more. You get like different touches of personality from each one of them to easily identify them to try to sell that toy, because you might be interested in that sort of character gimmick that they transform out, and sort of gives you an idea of who they could be if you want to continue your own adventures.
Yeah, and you could tell they tried really hard to get as many freaking characters as they could into the movie to sell that many more toys. That's just That's just something that shows do. Is like whenever there's going to be a series finale or season finale, they always try to get every character of the series in because they don't know if they're going to get it greenlit for another season. So they try to go off on a high note with every character so that everybody's favorite character gets to shine or whatever.
Yeah. So one thing I've pointed out already is there's a scene where Megatron gets beat up, gets cast away with the other beat up Decepticons into space as litter. Then they come across Omnicron, this gigantic planet of a transformer that goes around and destroys stuff. And we can only assume that he creates his own army by engulfing them and changing them with his techno magic to make Megatron into Galvatron.
All of a sudden, what the fuck? That's so weird. Somehow my window my Brave window just got like ridiculously tiny. That was really weird. Okay, I'm trying to make the Twitter moment so that it just exists for future posterity and all that. But see, it's so funny. As soon as my son saw Optimus Prime, he said, "That guy's chest looks like windshield."
Yeah.
I'm like, you just wait, little one. They didn't do a lot of transforming into the vehicles in this.
Not that much. Like at the beginning, pretty much part one of this 2-part act, you see them in vehicles. After that, not really. But the point I was going to get to was they transformed some older named Decepticons. And then you have 2 that transformed into 2 pairs. One of them was Cyclonus. Later on in the season that airs right after the movie, Cyclonus is a main named character for the Decepticons, the bad guys. So to me, it's funny that there are 2 of these characters that later become one main character. And I know you're just enthused with enjoyment hearing that, AC, but it's to me it's kind of
all your stuff into the Twitter moment. There's too many characters in Transformers, like, because again, it is all about selling the toys. So there's so few of them that actually stand out because they tried really hard with Bumblebee having the talking problem
not in this movie.
I know, but I'm saying with different characters having different quirks like that. There's the guy who talks ridiculously fast.
That is the Micro Machines guy.
There's Optimus, and then there's the female Transformer that I think only exists in this. Is that correct?
Oh, she is in the TV series.
I don't remember her in the TV series, but like I said, I barely watched it.
I think she was originally Starscream's girlfriend, then swapped to the Autobots. I think I might have misremembered that.
I don't know. I just, like I said, if you can sit down and just burn a couple hours.
If you are looking for something fun and full of explosions, hair metal bands.
Glam rock, you mean?
Glam rock, yeah.
I feel like it's I think that the weakest part of the humans, like the humans, just shouldn't be in it at all.
I agree.
But largely,
what's the human's plot? Where's Dad? Dad's getting annihilated.
And you can just tell that suit was like a costume that they sold at Halloween that year, like a real expensive friggin' like. Get in the stupid suit, like in Alien in the second Alien movie. Yeah. So.
It's
a little bit overshadowed by its obvious marketing. I'll put it that way.
I had fun with this movie.
I tried to watch it twice, but I was mostly watching it the second time to get the name of the thing for the international greeting or whatever. But I ended up just getting it off the Transformers wiki because I didn't know how to spell that shit.
Oh. So 2 hours, 14 minutes.
Yeah. Plus 15 or whatever of the other thing. So
should we
for the
show?
next, I don't have it up, but for the next podcast, we're doing Perfect Blue.
Ooh. We're going to have a rocking good time.
Yeah. And I guess the podcast after that, we're doing Corpse Party and all 2 Vampire Hunter D movies. And then we will do Shiki after that.
Shiki.
So that's where we're at. And I actually didn't ask FDDM if he owns Corpse Party, but
I think he owned it because that's something
it's always on sale.
that's always on sale. I could have sworn he showed it as a pickup.
It probably. Anyway.
That sale of $6. That on sale price is $6.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. If you are watching this on Facebook, I mean, thank you, but the YouTube one is much better because that has super chats you can pay me in. Anyway, so yeah, if you guys hadn't yet, go ahead and like the video. And next podcast is going to be, we got some actually interesting stuff happening on the next podcast because I will remind you. So first of all, next podcast is October 5th. And I think on October 3rd, right? Yeah, the Full Metal Alchemist date is when the mediation for Vic Mignogna's lawsuit needs to be done by so that Judge Chupp can rule on the 4th. So we will know to some degree what happened and how the mediation went, which I'm going to predict right now. They didn't settle. And I think that Judge Chupp is probably going to pull Markey back into the case, but we'll just have to wait and see. I know there's going to be appeals if he doesn't, at least on Toye and all them. So it'll be interesting to see. And we'll see you guys then. So take it easy.
Laters.